Hi, guys. Cecile Edwards here of the Mommy Matters podcast. I have to tell you, if you have not heard about Anchor, it is the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. Did I tell you that you can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership? It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download your Anchor app or go to Anchor FM, anchor.fm to get started. You will not be dissatisfied. Welcome to the Mommy Matters podcast, where Mommy Matters is a double entendre that states and declares that mommies matter, where we have conversations surrounding mommy matters, from conception to pregnancy to postpartum, mother and father wounds, dating, mindfulness and self-care, spirituality, parenting, discipline, legislation, money, and so much more. It is my hope and my prayer that the information that you gather here serves as a blueprint for generational and individual ascension. Enjoy. Welcome to the Mommy Matters podcast, and I am your host, Cecile Edwards or Roche. And today we have a special guest on our podcast called Ancestral Healing. The title is Ancestral Healing. And as you know, my company, mommyEvolve, is all about intergenerational healing and self-care. And ancestral healing is a very critical component of intergenerational healing. Understanding your family stories, understanding your family, calling on those ancestors, those beneficial ancestors to assist you along your way, and why that's important. I hope I haven't lost anybody yet, because I know you have certain beliefs. You may think that it's not healthy to do that, but hopefully in this call, in this recording, we will get you to understand how and why staying connected to your ancestors is important for your healing journey and for your process as a mother. Okay, so today I have my special guest, and her name is Kellinda Browne. And Kellinda Browne is a healer, and she deals specifically with ancestral healing, assisting individuals in connecting with their ancestors and connecting with them more strongly and understanding what it means to do ancestral healing. So without further ado, I'll have Kellinda do more explanation of what she does and how she does it. Kellinda?
Hey everybody. Well, once again, my name is Kellinda Browne, and what I do is ancestral healing work, and I do that in kind of various ways. I have a course, which is my ancestor healing session or course, whatever you want to call it. And what we do is we look at the things that you are going through, because a lot of times what you're going through is a spin-off of what your ancestors may have gone through, or the exact same thing, because a lot of things are generational. And we deal with you. We begin to heal you. As you're healing yourself, you're actually healing your line. Now, the thing that may throw some people is that as you're doing this, how can I say it without, like, I don't want to scare anybody off, but your ancestors are going to start coming in various ways. They may not manifest, but you may get synchronicities. You may see feathers a lot. You may see, the same bird over and over again. Just put it like this. They're going to give symbols that they are there and that they hear you and that they thank you for the things that you're doing. So when you're healing your lineage, like I said, you're dealing with, let's just say you deal with depression a lot. How I do my work is we find out what's causing the depression, because depression is a symptom of a root issue. So let's say you're dealing with depression and having anxiety. A lot of times that is issues from abandonment issues or rejection type issues, which is usually the root issue. And most of our root issues are, coming from the family lineage as well. So it's probably a lot of you all who, we're going to use molestation because that's the main one. That's a major one in a lot of families. Like, if I was molested, there are other women in my family who were molested.
Right.
And so that energy or that spirit me healing that within myself. I'm also healing it in my line. How you heal it in your line is it's like you're thinking about those who you knew who were molested, and then you're just speaking of those who may have been molested in your family, because it didn't start with your great grandmother. Way before that. How can I prove that? Let's just go back to slavery. Our women were raped and molested all the time. They even named them the men in the night when they would come in the night and do what they did. So these things started a long, long, long time ago. So so when you're healing, you're calling forth, your ancestors, and you're saying that you're cleansing them as well. And sometimes you're going to get very emotional. The reason being is because you're healing yourself, but you're also healing. You feel is also what they feel, and it's going to come out of you. So it's a very deep process. It's very emotional at times, because I have you face things. We call stuff up. Like, I don't sugarcoat anything. I do it because I believe in getting the root issue up out of you. And this is the though ends of it.
Kellinda, before you continue, can you just it's going in and out.
So,
yeah.
You hear me now?
I don't know if it's because you're in a particular place or what, but when we were talking earlier, it wasn't an issue. So.
Okay, is it doing it now?
No, it sounds better now. It sounds more.
Okay. I'm sorry, you all. I hope you caught all of that. But the last part that I was gonna say is that when you finish healing, you will not be the same person. You will come out
all right. It's going in and out again.
I don't know why, because I haven't even moved. I am like completely still.
I don't know either. I don't know. Sometimes it's fine, and then sometimes it's not. All right. Anyway,
that's not good.
Go ahead. Continue.
Okay, that's not good. Well, let the message out. Okay, the message will get out.
Absolutely.
You're basically out removing
right. It's messing up a lot. Let me see if we can go out and then come back in. We may have to start over though. That's the only thing.
That's fine. That's fine.
I don't know why it's doing that.
That's funny because I hadn't moved.
Right. And I usually don't have issues either. So I don't know why it's doing that, but
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. You want me to?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay.
Try to go out and come back in.
Okay. All right.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We apologize for the technical difficulties. As stated before, we are talking about ancestral healing with Kellinda Browne. And so Kellinda was talking about how deep ancestral healing is, and how not only do you heal yourself, but you heal generations back. 7 generations back is what we say, and 7 generations forward. And that the reason being is that most likely, and it's very likely, that the reason why you may be dealing with whatever it is because of what happened in the past. And so you're healing literally the energy of a thing that is in your family. Mm-hmm. So, Kellinda, without me continuing to talk, let's hear what you have to say. You were talking about depression and anxiety, and those things, and how it affects your family line.
Right. What I was saying was, with when I do the ancestral healing, a lot of people are suffering from the effects of like a root issue. And sometimes most of the time the root issue stems from like abandonment issues, rejection issues, sexual abuse, just any type of abuse. And a lot of that has, it's generational. It's come from generation to generation to generation. So a lot of people try to heal the symptoms, which is depression, which may be anxiety, which may be low self-esteem. That's not what you're healing. You have to heal the root issue. So when I do my course with the students that I work with, we deal with the root issues. One of the things that I do, I can't tell too much, is I have them face the issue. I have them go back to memories that have been suppressed. And I have them face those memories. And I had one girl do it. Oh my gosh. She said, she called me and she was like, girl, oh my gosh. She was like, I didn't know it was going to be like that. She said she was screaming, hitting pillows, she was like punching the sofa. She was like, when she went back and revisited everything and let the emotions come out that had been held for so long,
Wow.
she said it was intense, but it changed her when it was all said and done. And that's the other thing in our lineages, especially with things like molestations or abuse, families don't want people to know what's going on. Absolutely. So a lot of that has been hushed. No one's talking about anything. Right. So with her getting it out, the reason why it was so intense is because she was getting out generations of people's anger, of people's hurt, of people's pain. That's why it was so intense. It wasn't just hers. She was the vessel and the voice where her ancestors could come through and get everything out, because remember, their blood runs through ours. We are our ancestors. Absolutely. It's like they're us, we are them. Absolutely. So part of that is healing. It's really, really, oh my God, it's so releasing that people need to do this. Right. And so much will be cleared up. Let me tell you, when I did mine, I was focused on something else, but it healed something else in my family. It was so weird. Right. Yes, and that's what happens. I was focused on molestation, but it ended up having somebody else reveal something that needed to be revealed that we could never get out of them. And I wasn't even asking for that. So that's what I'm saying. A lot of times when you're doing ancestral healing, when you start doing your work, it's going to work a lot of other things in your family as well. It's so important. Absolutely. It's so very important. You want to get your kids healed, start doing ancestral work, because a lot of the things that your kids may be carrying or doing is because of a lot of the things that are in your line.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I think that part of us releasing, I say all the time that much of our work has nothing to do with what we are attaching to ourselves, the more stuff, attaching all this stuff, getting this and getting that and getting this and getting that. It's more so about what you are releasing.
Absolutely.
From your subconscious mind, from your energy centers, from
absolutely
a lot of these issues that we see occurring in our children and in ourselves are, again, as you said, things that are being held in our DNA. And we know that things are transferred through our DNA through, scientific studies. We know it now through scientific studies, but, our ancestors, our people have always known, that's why they were so, I am friends with a person who is a shaman, and he does ceremonies using plant medicine. And there's different plant medicines that helps to clear out your subconscious mind, right? And to bring some things to the forefront. So he does those things. And, he was telling me about when he first even came into contact with doing that, and he came to discover that this is something that's done regularly, like every, 3 months or whatever out of the year, whole community come together to do this, to clear out any subconscious, any DNA, anything that needs to be cleared out of their minds, their bodies, and their selves.
Right.
Maybe keeping them from being activated and being their best selves. So this is not, something new. It's really not a woo-woo thing.
Right. It's really not.
It's
It's
really
really not.
not. It's so real. Um,
Right.
and a lot of the things that, again, some mothers come to me and they're like, oh, my child is dealing with this. And I said, well, how are you dealing with it? And how did you deal with it
Mm-hmm.
when you were a child and when you were younger? Have you
Absolutely.
dealt with and cleared up any of these things? And I know I came to that realization when my daughter was having self-esteem issues. And I know
Mm-hmm.
that was something that I dealt with. And when I look back in my lineage, it's something that my mom and my grandmother and these people, they all dealt with.
But let me say this, and that's one of the things, like I said, when you clear up yourself, you clear up your line. And because a lot of us, our families did come from slavery, not everyone,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to think back on our people during that time, who they were, the era they were in, and what they were taught. They were taught low self-esteem.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That was just one of the things. I mean, they were treated a certain way, they were called a certain way. So eventually you start to believe it.
Right.
And then you begin to pass that along through your family. And it's not necessarily verbally, it's in your actions.
Right.
And that's why, like you said, your mom had it, your grandmother probably had it, and even those further along had it, because it wasn't cleared out yet until you recognized it.
Right. And
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, not that.
I was gonna say, a lot of the things that we're dealing with are the effects of our ancestors. It's not like, oh, I just got this child and this child is just acting this way or that way. It's like, no, it's behaviors and characteristics within the DNA that are passed down that may have skipped the other kids, but it went to that certain one.
Mm-hmm.
You
And I
know,
like that you said that it's an energy.
yeah, it's an energy.
It's an
That's absolutely what it is.
And so, give us a little bit more about what that means to say that it's an energy.
Okay, well, being it's an energy because it's almost like let's reference it to like a behavior. It's something that you can maneuver, that you can kind of push out and everything. It's because it's not. How can I explain it to make it sound so simple? It's it's something that flows through, like, how like you may have some characteristics or behaviors like your father, but he didn't actually put it in you, like, per se. He didn't like be like, okay, this is yours. It's just an energy that goes, that flows through, and it can go from person to person through the womb. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? Like that. And that's how a lot of this is carried. Okay, let me give you an example. Okay, so I have a friend that does birth Reiki trauma, and what she does is she has us go back to when we were in the womb.
Yes.
And she's like, she'll ask you, like, what do you see, what do you feel, and blah 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 blah. And she was like, okay, now what do you feel your mother was feeling at the time? And a lot of times when we're in the womb, if our parents or our mother was depressed, it's usually going to transfer to us. So that's what I mean by it's an energy.
Yep.
It's transferring. Yeah. So that's what I mean when I'm saying it's like an energy. It's like what they feel, you carry it on. Because think, when you're an infant, well, when you're embryo or whatever you want to call it, fetus, you're picking up all the energy that's around you, as well as the fact that a lot of us are empaths.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes, I'm glad that you said that. And I mean, again, if you look at quote unquote modern science, it will tell
mhm,
that when even in the conversation of epigenetics, that
mhm,
you can break a cycle and a curse and change your DNA by changing your environment, right? So
absolutely.
the energy of the environment that you are in. If you are accustomed to being in an environment that is full of traumas and disease and
Right.
discord and those kinds of things, you're going to build up uh, 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 you know, uh, that energy in your system and in your area, in your aura. If you're around negative people all the time, you're going to build. It's very difficult unless you're like, already ascended like the straight Buddha or something,
Right.
know,
Right.
you are going to pick up the energies of the people that you're around and the things that you're around. That's why they say you are, the sum total of the 5 people that you're around. And this is why also a lot of
Absolutely.
people hear people who have become successful say that they had to change their environment. They had to change the people they were around in order to be
Mm-hmm.
who they desire to be. And so
Absolutely.
so the question I have to ask is, what are you putting yourself and your children around in order for you to
Absolutely.
break the chains and break the bonds and do that ancestral healing work? Are you continuing to put your children in, pass down that poverty mindset by how you
Right.
function? Are
Mm-hmm.
you continuing to have that energy of sexual abuse by not
Right.
empowering your children with the information around
Absolutely.
body positivity and
Mm-hmm.
boundaries and healthy sexual expression? Because
Absolutely.
that's what ends up happening. You end up closing yourself off to those conversations and those that education a lot of times. And so, we have
Mm-hmm.
to be mindful of that. And that's the real time ways that we break these ancestral uh, curses, or the word
Right.
curse, it makes it seem like it sticks, but it doesn't.
Right. But
It always
this is
right.
the thing. I don't necessarily use the word curse, only
Me.
because, like you said, I mean, for one thing, we say it because it's what we've always heard.
Right.
But when you really look up the definition of a curse, that's something that's kind of spoken over a person or a family. So that's one of the reasons why I do not utilize that word, because some of the things that are in our families are not curses, it's behaviors, it's
Mhm.
patterns, and those can
Yes.
be broken, by changing that behavior and
Yes.
that pattern. But when a person hear curse, they're like, oh my goodness, it's gonna take this, it might take that, and blah 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 blah. And it's like it changes how a person thinks or views something. If you say that this is a generational pattern
Right.
or behavior,
Hmm.
it seems like it's easy to combat it or to conquer it, as opposed this is the curse. And you, like I said, how curses are depicted here. It's hard, it's not easy to deal with, and it's something dark attached to it and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I really don't use that word. I
Right,
just
right. And I don't either. In fact, in
Yeah.
my book, I have a whole chapter about it, and it's the title
Hmm.
is something like generational patterns or something.
Right, right,
So it's
right.
definitely not. You just have to be very conscious of it, aware of it.
Hmm.
Take it, take it seriously. Take it as something that you can and you will remove from your pattern, because from your lifestyle. Because the reality is, if you don't remove it, you can't blame anyone else for
Right.
to be there. That's another thing. A lot of us want to blame our ancestors or blame the people before us, but you have to understand that people did what they did to maintain and survive, because at the end of the day, life is most critical, right?
Right.
If you're
Hmm.
not able to live and carry on your bloodline,
Right.
right, then you are not able to even get the opportunity to make any change, right?
Right.
Nobody's able to do that. So sometimes you have to think about decisions and choices, and sometimes very quick decisions and choices turns into a pattern
Hmm.
that someone down the line has to break, and it's okay if you're the one that
Right.
recognizes it. Be the one to break it.
Absolutely. And don't give up. That's the main thing, because sometimes it's not easy to change patterns and behaviors, but you don't stop. You keep going until you see that change. And then when you're dealing with your kids and everything, you have to be, like you said, you go back and you think about how you were when you were a child. That's how I deal with my son.
Mhm.
It's certain things that he may do or whatever. And I have to remember, Kellinda, you were a child once.
Mhm.
What did you do? How did you respond? And when your parents responded, how you're responding, how did it affect you? So it's that's imperative, that you go back to when you were younger and how you dealt with certain things.
Right.
Because a lot of times our kids will do the exact same things that we did.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, they would do the
Do
exact
most
same thing.
they do most of that's why they're your master teachers, right?
Right, absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes, sometimes they don't do the exact same thing you did,
Mm-hmm.
and they still teaching you. Because my
Exactly.
son has patience. I don't, but I learn from him because I watch him. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, let me slow down. Cause I'd be like, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. And he'll still take his time. And I'm like, okay, I see what's going on.
Right. And truth be told, that's the way, many ways that our ancestors speak to us.
I was just going to say that. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
That's the many ways that our ancestors speak to us and shows us that
Mm-hmm.
we have opportunities to evolve constantly. And that we have the opportunities to make changes and to see what it is that we need to see constantly. So let's go back a little bit. So we talked a little bit about, defining what ancestral healing is, defining what your ancestors are, and you said earlier that you may get certain signs that that's, your ancestors are speaking to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that feathers and birds and things like that. Why those things? What about feathers and birds and particular things? How would you know
Okay.
if it's a synchronicity?
Okay. Well, for one thing, like certain things that are on us in the spiritual world are have been the same from ancient times to now. And back during ancient times, before people even spoke and used language, they used symbols.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times birds were symbols, the different feathers, the feather sizes, the colors, all of that was like symbols to mean certain things. And then think about it, those certain things will catch your attention. You keep seeing the same feather or feathers all the time, it's going to catch your attention. And true, they could use other things, but most of the time it's like feathers. It could be synchronicity in numbers. You may see 555 all the time, or something like something like that. It's just those, it's certain symbols that have just been passed down that are always used. But this is the thing though, within each family now, they will use a symbol that they know will catch your individual attention as well. Like
Right.
the feathers and stuff are kind of generalized. The feathers, the are just birds, sometimes bees, sometimes butterflies. It could be dragonflies. I mean, it could be anything, but it's going to be something that is going to catch your particular attention, and you will begin to see it. Or, and so I don't go too deep with it or anything. If you are a person that actually deal with your ancestors, you ask them,
Mm-hmm.
what symbol are they going to show you, or how is it that they are speaking to you. Now, a lot of times it will be through dreams or visions that
Mm-hmm.
a lot of us have,
Mm-hmm.
and that is like really the most natural way that you will know. You will have dreams. You know how some of us still may dream about our grandmother or parent or something like that. It can be done that way as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a variation of ways where you will know that what you're doing is working, and that what you're doing is being recognized. And this is the other part of it. I don't know exactly how deep I can go, but your ancestors help you
Mm-hmm.
as you're doing this. It's not like you're not doing it alone.
Right.
So
Right.
it's like I said, they're there. You're you know doing your part
Mm-hmm.
of what you're supposed to do. And this is the other thing with the whole thing, you just
It's like
want to.
anything else. It's like with
Right.
in spiritual traditions, they say grace in
Right.
fraternity, right? Or that those energies that
Right. That's what it is. It's energies. And like I said, those things can be changed. You can change behaviors and ways. It just will take work to do it.
Mhm.
But you can change those energies out of yourself and out of your children.
Right.
It's like I said, it may take some work, but you can get it done.
Hmm.
And one of the ways you can do it is just speaking the things that you want to release out of your family, and begin to speak speak those things that you want in your family. That's how you're going to shift that energy out. Because if you're not fueling that energy anymore, it's basically going to shift out and die out.
Mm-hmm. And that's how powerful you are. Let me just
Right. Absolutely.
a lot of times, I have women come to me and literally they're in fear of what
Mm-hmm.
they're finding in terms of the patterns and all of those things. And I'm like, you have the power. You created this
Right.
being, you created a person, you were created, so you can create what it is that you desire. And
Right.
these things are just a mirror being held up to show you what you do not desire in your life, and that's fine. And you need to now speak what it is that you do desire in your life. And I'm very particular about learning as much about family history as possible and understanding
Right.
stories, because once you know certain details about stories, that's what I love about history, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You learn certain things in history. I mean, when you're learning like true history and the way people and things interact, not like they teach it in schools where it's kind of like, ABC happened and that was it. Nah, it's always way more underneath that.
Right. Right.
And once you learn those things and you understand the intricacies of stories and how things come to being, I feel like it frees you. It frees
Right.
you to create a new story,
Mm-hmm.
right? That is part of ancestral healing, is creating a new story, creating a new vision, creating a new way of seeing things, reframing your story. I went to a retreat this past weekend called Elevation Weekend with the womb sauna, and there was a woman there named Elena Crawford. She wrote a book called Fistful of Honey, and her workshop was about reframing your story, elevating your story.
Mm-hmm.
And she talked about all of these experiences that she went through and how she reframed her story to show how powerful she was,
There
as
you go.
or as opposed to continuing to repeat it in a way that made her the victim. And I think that that's
Mm-hmm.
important to note, because
Mm-hmm.
even when things happen to you, and things will always happen, the way that
Right.
you deal with it
Mm-hmm.
makes a difference on how it affects your body, your spirit, and your energy.
Absolutely.
So,
And that is the main thing. You're rewriting your story when
mhm.
you're doing like your healing work and everything. Like it's really simple. Now, this is one thing I want to say. There are some people that I have worked with, or just briefly spoken to, well, not really briefly, who were adopted, and they don't know anything about their family. So it's so going back, because you was talking about history, and that's very important. But when you can't go back, it's like, well, what do I do?
Mm.
It's like, who do I go to find out where it started, when it started, and all of that? And you can't. Okay, so you can't go back like let me see, how can I say it? You can't go back physically, like be able to ask someone,
Right,
especially when you don't know. So that's when you really have to just go inside yourself
right, right.
and start the healing that way. It's like once you go inside yourself, things begin to be revealed
Yep.
to you about yourself. So it's not like there's nothing that a person who's adopted, they can't do what they need to do. They can. It's just that it's going to take a lot of inner work,
Mm-hmm.
more inner work for them.
Right. For those
Then
layers to be unclear.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes, absolutely. It's going to take more inner work, and even
And
for
you don't have
those.
to know everything. I don't mean to cut you off, but you
Oh
don't
no,
have
you're
to
fine.
know everything in order to continue to continue and be confident in your journey.
Right.
To
That's
step
very true. You don't have to know everything at all. And sometimes it's good that you don't
Mm.
know everything. I feel like this. I've always believed in divine timing. I've
Right.
always believed in divine order, divine connections, and all of that. Whatever it is you are supposed to know, you will know.
Yep.
Whatever it is you are not supposed to know,
Mm-hmm.
you will not know.
Right. Right. And that's
And
okay.
every right, because you have to be in line with the Most High. And when you're on your journey of doing your work, that's the starting point. You have to be in line with the Most High and yourself,
Right.
because a lot of us aren't even aligned with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts like that. So everything is divine.
It is.
What you're supposed to know, you will know.
And
And what you're not supposed to know, don't try to force that, because it may not be time. And you may think you can handle it, but you really can't.
right. Right. There's this tendency for a lot of folks to want to, for example, in their spiritual journey, to want to have their third eye open,
Mm-hmm.
immediately. And it's like, nah, baby.
Right. Right.
um,
Right.
that's some serious stuff right there. People go crazy off of that, you know, quote unquote crazy, I should say.
Right. No, but you're absolutely right though.
So it's a journey, it's a process, and whatever you start, ensure that you're very transparent with your children about what
Mm-hmm.
you started, so that they can continue the work. That's what
Absolutely.
missing in our understanding of
Mm-hmm.
parenting, the purpose and power of parenting. We need to understand the legacies and the stories of our lives to our children. I don't care what it is.
Right.
We need to do
Right.
that, because otherwise, that energy that we worked hard to repel can come back and sneak up on them, in some way, shape,
Right. That's very true. It can definitely do that, repel and sneak back up on you. That is very true. That's why you always have to kind of be just prepared
Mm-hmm.
and kind of always on point, because you have to think about it. Certain the if that behavior and pattern was in a family for a very long time, or that energy,
Mm-hmm.
the energy may not be ready to go.
Right.
And it may come back. Even if you go back to Christianity and go to that scripture in the Bible where it talked about be careful when you was it a spirit? Yeah, be careful when you send a spirit away or something like that, because it'll come back with
Mm-hmm.
10 more and be stronger. I can't remember if it was a spirit or whatever it was, but it's like that same thing,
Mm-hmm.
that you can send it away and think you cleared it, but it could come back even stronger.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be careful, and just stay cognizant. I mean, don't be fearful and be like, oh my God, it's gonna come back. Not like that, but
Right.
just
Mindful.
yeah, right. Just be mindful and aware. Absolutely.
Yeah, be
Yeah.
mindful of that and stay vigilant on your path, and keep your vibration high, and keep your
Right.
around you
Right.
high as well. Um,
Excuse me. I'm
let's,
sorry.
it's okay. Talking about dreams. So I'm gonna tell you a dream I had.
Okay.
I had this dream, and I'm telling you, I woke up out this dream like, what in the world? Because folks was in it that I was like, why are these folks in this dream? So this is what happened, right?
Okay.
And somebody told me, interpreted it for me a little bit, but I wanted to hear what your understanding
Mhm.
may be.
Okay.
So in this dream, I am in a very rustic place, right? So like a 3-room cabin out in the woods, and it was not in America; it was in another country. Okay, maybe South
Mhm.
America, somewhere Central America, somewhere. So in this dream, I was there, and Beyonce was there.
Well, oh my goodness.
So
Okay.
Beyonce is there on a quote unquote spiritual journey, right? And
Mhm.
I'm over here and I'm there with her, but she didn't even recognize me, right? So
Mhm.
I'm like kind of following behind her, you know what I'm saying? Trying to
Mhm.
trying to get to know who she is type thing. And she's completely
Right.
ignoring me and trying to be in the mix with the local people, the people that are there, in
Mhm.
the community. And it's a community of spiritual people. So she was trying to really get close to, the elder women, et cetera, and completely ignoring me. So I'm getting ready to leave. And as I'm getting ready to leave from this place, I guess my time was up. As I'm leaving, everybody is sad that I'm going, and they're like, "Oh, why are you leaving? You don't have to leave." And as I'm, about to leave, I guess the person who was like my husband or something, and he was like a premier or the main spiritual advisor in the community. came to me and was very sad that I was leaving. He was crying, and everybody was like gathering around us and sad that I was leaving, and he didn't want me to leave. And it was then that Miss Beyonce realized who I was and then wanted to talk to me. So one of the elder women encouraged me to come back in the house for something or another. And Beyonce is steady trying to talk to me, trying to now give me the attention that I was trying to give her earlier, as well as trying to talk to my mate. And that's how it ended. Like, it ended like that. It was like, I was just like, whatever. And she was trying to, and I just found the dream so hilarious, but I don't usually remember my dreams. The fact that happened, I know it's hilarious. It's like, Beyonce, why the hell I don't even listen to her music like that.
Right.
So it's hilarious to me. But something like that, let's say you're interpreting your dream or trying to interpret your own dreams. How do you go about doing that with the messages? Or do you just recommend that you go to someone who is a dream interpreter to get that?
Well, because so my life is kind of weird. Not weird, but I have always been intuitive, extremely, extremely intuitive. Always, my whole life. It just runs in the family, and I've always been that way. So I've always been able to interpret my own dreams. One of the ways that you can interpret dreams, of course, is whatever is kind of sticking out in that dream. You Google that and you put in what is the spiritual meaning of the dream. So let me tell you, when you're doing dream interpretation, you don't look at the whole picture. You have to break it down. You have to really break things down to the point to where it can be, let's just say you're dreaming about a cat. Okay. A person would be like, okay, well, what kind of cat was it? What color was the cat? What was the cat doing? Where was the cat going? All of that helps you interpret your dreams. And being that I'm from the South, it's just certain things that people would dream about that you kind of grow up just knowing, well, a snake may mean this. Or if you for instance, if you dream about a male in a dream, let's just say, I probably shouldn't use this because it's kind of morbid, but if you dream about a male passing, it's usually going to be a female. If you dream about a female, it's going to be a male. Of course, when they say you dream about fish, you know what that means. Someone's pregnant and stuff like that. But when you're doing dream interpretation, you have to break down everything. And like for those who really want to kind of just break it down or whatever, you look at the colors of things. You look at the things that really stick out, and then you look up the spiritual meaning of whatever was in your dream, and you find what resonates with you, because it's going to be various interpretations a lot of times, but you find what resonates with you. Now, you were saying Beyonce's in your dream, and Beyonce's very spiritual. Like she's on she's on a strong spiritual walk. And with her being in your dream, you got to see how her spirituality relates to you. Like, why would she be in your dream? Right. Like, look at the kind of person that she is. What is that saying to you? What is that speaking to you? She's a manifester. She gets things done. She's a trailblazer. How does that align with the things that you are doing? Because a dream can be a certain way, but when you interpret it, it would be something totally different than what you actually dreamed. Because a person,
you just said that I just realized, based on some other things that have been happening, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Right, because sometimes you can dream about death, but it don't mean somebody's gonna die. It's the rebirth of something. It's the start of something new. So that's what I'm saying. When you interpret dreams, it's more than just, okay, we was riding down the street and the car went to the left, and then something happened. No. What color was the car? What kind of car was it? What were y'all talking about? It's so much that go into dream interpretation. But like I said, for me, it was just something that came natural. I would just, and like my cousins call me all the time, be like, well, what does this mean? And then I would just tap in and I would be able to explain it, and then I would hang up and go about my business. But so you have to begin to look at dreams, because I feel like you're going to be able to do it as well eventually. But if you're not doing it already and just not realizing it, because sometimes we can know what a dream means, but we don't trust ourselves enough, and then we go out and ask someone else, because everything that you need is within you, whether it's dormant or not.
Absolutely. Yeah, so thank you, because that's just some little tips for people to understand and interpret their dreams,
Right.
Or even interpret their own children's dreams. I think this conversation
Absolutely
is very important for me, because a lot of times our children have gifts and we cause them to suppress them.
That happens a lot.
Not believing them when they say that they saw certain things or not.
Absolutely.
Encouraging or making them feel like it's something scary, or
right.
I know I have quite a few friends who have had that, like they would talk to their ancestors or people, energies of people who were in houses they lived in, and they became spooked by it because nobody was talked to them about it. But these are things that oftentimes are in your family line, and so it's
absolutely,
it's not like it's,
I come from a family of mediums. I mean, a line of mediums. So like seeing certain things is not like it's not unnormal. And my family on my mom's side is so normal. And if it would have been suppressed, I would have grown up feeling crazy, which honestly I didn't feel crazy. Even though like my parents, they didn't really like. I would always tell them, even when I was young, oh my God, I would see things and I would know so much. And sometimes you're just covered and you just kind of build your gift as you go. Now, I'm not going to say it was easy all the time, because it wasn't. I mean, for the longest times, I did not sleep with my head from up under the covers, because I would always see stuff. And I never, even to this day, I don't sleep with any doors open, because I would always see something in the door. It never failed. So even to this day, I don't sleep with doors open. I can't. You know what I'm saying? That's just something I haven't gotten past since I was younger. But I don't do that. But I would like to say this: don't suppress your child's gift because you are afraid. And a lot of times the parent went through the same thing as a child. And you try to suppress that child, and it's just like, allow that child to be. Though you are afraid, your child may not be afraid. And then we have purposes here, and you may be knocking your kids' purpose all the way off, getting them off track of what they need to do in life, or who they may need to help in life,
and their power in understanding the spirit world earlier. You know what I'm saying? We have this delay in understanding and being, quote unquote, getting to understand our spirituality because those gifts are suppressed so early. But of course, take your time and see how your child functions with it. Because if they're terrified just because they're terrified, and you know what I'm saying, maybe take them to someone who's a professional who can help them go through it, or you know what I'm saying, or something like that. But definitely don't, discourage them from what is theirs already. So I think we may have lost Kellinda. Kellinda, are you there? All right, just hold on.
They are feeling like a void, or feeling like something isn't right.
Okay, yeah, you went out for a few seconds, so I didn't hear what you were saying.
Am I back now?
Yeah, you are back now.
Okay. I don't know what happened with that one, because I didn't really move. But
So we were talking about your children, just ensuring that you don't block your children from, being believed in terms of what their gifts are, what they can see, and finding ways to get them to become comfortable or understand it in some way. Yeah.
Absolutely. You shouldn't block as much as you possibly can, because that's who they are. and it's like you're suppressing who your child is.
Mm-hmm.
Good, because they won't feel whole. They're gonna always feel a void. They're gonna always feel like something is missing, or you're gonna close their throat chakra,
Mm-hmm.
and they won't be able to express themselves as they should, and they're gonna always feel that blockage, until it's one day open. And then sometimes when you suppress them so much that when they get older and they realize, it's like they're gonna burst into the gift that was already there. And sometimes that can be a hindrance or harmful, because it's almost like they're going full force into something that they can't control or can't handle because it hadn't been cultivated.
Mm-hmm.
So it's best that, you just allow them to be who they are.
Absolutely.
Allow them to be who they are.
Yep. Allow their way of life to evolve the way that it's evolving naturally.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be a hindrance to you. It can be a compliment to yours. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So is there any other thing that you would like to share? Anything that you want people to know about ancestral healing? How what you want women to know about ancestral healing and its importance, its power, any tips, as well as how people can get in contact with you.
Okay, well, as far as I feel that it is very, very, very powerful for women. Not saying that men are not powerful when it comes to doing your ancestral healing, but I feel like for women it is extremely important that they step into ancestral healing work, because we have the womb that brings forth, not saying that the male doesn't help, but it's like we're the one that bring forth, the our lineage is here, and how we feel and who we are is what comes upon them. So it's like we as the women have to go back and change things and do the work that needs to be done. Plus, the intuitiveness is just something about a woman, and not saying that a man cannot do it, but it's just something about that being a woman, being motherly, being nurturing, being so cognizant, being intuitive. It's like you're going to pick up the things that needs to be picked up. Like I said, I'm not saying that males cannot, because I've talked to some males to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
It's next, like we're all, even though we're all connected, but with women, it's a different connection
Right.
that they're gonna have. But the work is, I will say this, though the work can be hard, it can also be very, very fun.
Right.
It can be like one of the most open things ever, because like I said, being will not be the person that you're going to end up being. And for a lot of us, we want that change. We
Mm-hmm.
want to walk into our
Uh-oh. Getting a little.
Okay, one of the things that I was going to say was that if you work with me, one of the things I believe in is connecting the dots. And that's important to me. We have to find out exactly what is going on, I think is that's just a gift from spirit, that I'm able to see beyond certain things. But it's just important to do things that need to be cleared up and not just be like, well, this is my family. We
Right.
don't need to stop it, because it can be stopped, because these are patterns and behaviors
Right.
that can be changed. But to reach me, I have my Facebook page, which is Kellinda Browne, and that is spelled KELLYNDAHBROWNE. And that is how I can be reached. Facebook or Messenger.
Oh,
Same spelling.
okay. Excellent. And how did you, let me ask you this final question. How did you get into doing this line of work?
Uh-huh. Okay, so I am an apprentice
Mm-hmm.
to Rain. I'm one of her apprentices. I was trying to figure out what it was I was supposed to be doing, because I was looking at everybody that's in the apprenticeship and they were doing their things and blah 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 blah. And I was like, well, what in the world am I supposed to be doing? But all ancestors even before I started in.
Uh-oh. All right. Unfortunately, we are having technical difficulties. So, Kellinda can be reached on Facebook. And if you want any more details about her, her email will be in the description of the podcast. And hopefully you can connect with her and get the deeper level of understanding that you need to get to do this ancestral work and to be able to, step into your full self, your full activated self, and, be all that you can be and have your children be the same. I appreciate you listening. Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure to hear you. If there's anything that you want to share about what you heard, please, please, please send me an email at mommyEvolve, mommyEvolve@gmail.com, or go to my website and leave a comment, www.mommyevolve.com. I look forward to hearing from you. I apologize for the technical difficulties, but we try to keep it real here on mommyEvolve, right? On Mommy Matters, because at the end of the day, things aren't always perfect, but you're still going to get the most powerful information. And I feel like there was many beautiful things shared here today about the journey of ancestral healing and the purpose and the power of it. So I look forward to our next episode and to speaking to you and listening to you and sharing with you soon. Peace and love. Did you like that? I know it was as informative for you as it was for me. Look, this is a process for all of us. And to keep this process going, I would love to invite you to donate to our podcast. We want to continue to give you high-level content, beautiful content that enlightens and inspires and broadens your vision to elevate you and evolve. So please feel free to go to the podcast page at anchor.fm/Mommy Matters. We would love to hear your questions and comments as well, so that we can discuss them in future podcasts. And you can email that to mommyevolve@gmail.com. You can also visit the website and send your comments there. www.mommyevolve.com. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Peace and love.